In this particular class, I'm hosting a yoga therapy training module, so you're going to hear me reference yoga psychology related to the chakras, the fourth imperative of the heart, how the 8 limbs line up with the chakras, and then we're going to be focusing on inhale suspension as a practice because it builds this sense of the brightness of the heart, and it gives us a way to feel into the capacity we have for expanding. There'll be some other practices in the experience and the sequence, and I'll mention that we teach yoga programs for people with Parkinson's. We've also taught in prisons, and one of the practices that we'll do in this class will reflect back on both of those kinds of classes as well. So enjoy the practice, and I will see you there. I hope it's something that you feel nourished by, and as always, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and all the things. Thanks so much. Morning, welcome for practice. Let's start with a comfortable seat to settle in. This morning, I'm going to be integrating several concepts into our practice, and we'll be centering in the fourth imperative related to the fourth chakra, so related to the heart. One thing to consider, if you look at the 8 limbs of yoga and the 7 chakras, we could place the yamas at the first chakra, the niyamas at the second chakra, the practice of asana at the third chakra, and the practice of pranayama at the fourth chakra. Why would we do it this way? The first chakra being foundational, the yamas are related to how we live in connection with each other, with our community and our society. And the first chakra has this commitment to the welfare of everyone and everything, to sense our place in the whole. The second chakra is related to honing our senses. So we are not so hither and thither with our energy. And also we become better able to have a relationship with our inner self. And the niyamas are about our relationship with ourselves. Of course, the yamas and niyamas can be interchangeable. You could consider a niyama as how you might also relate to somebody else, or one of the yamas as to how you might relate to yourself. Ahimsa, for example, can be bidirectional, self and other. The third chakra is associated with really clarifying the mind, cultivating the discipline and the discernment to know what are real and unreal thoughts or perceptions, what is clear perception, what is misperception. And so the practice of asana is a place where we actually get to develop our ability to discern sensation, alignment, energy. It's a realm of practice and a place where we're developing life skills, those that will help us not to be so susceptible to the mind habits and patterns that aren't helpful for us. And then the fourth chakra is associated with the practice of pranayama, the fourth limb of yoga. And of course, that is the practice of the breath. And here we have the lungs. It is also associated with the qualities of the Brahma Viharas, compassion with the desire to help alleviate suffering. Not only compassion, but compassion with wise action lives here. In this way, the fifth chakra then is pratyahara, the fifth limb of yoga. And you could imagine that the fifth chakra and the second chakra are connected, because at the fifth chakra, if this is for pratyahara, which means turning your senses inward, you're going to be supporting the sense experience at the second chakra. You'll also likely have a little more discernment about what you eat, what you ingest, whether it's liquid, smoke, or food or other things, what you're taking in, and also what you're putting out. And so at the fifth chakra, pratyahara, we go inward with our senses. And then the sixth chakra will be associated with the next limb of yoga, which is dharana, our ability to concentrate, which develops our capacity for meditation and that sense of then being absorbed or experiencing samadhi. Meditation is dhyana, and samadhi is the 8th limb of yoga, that state of awakening. So that's a quick overview. It's brief. Those are your cliff notes, we could say, on the chakras. And our focus today is going to be here at the fourth chakra. So please take a comfortable seat. You can rest your hands in your lap, or sometimes it's nice to put one hand on the heart or both hands on the heart. And then allow your breathing to help you arrive here. Without changing the breath, simply come into relationship with it. You could even ask the breath to be like your mediator between the physical body and the outer world, and then your inner body, the inner world. And right now, this mediator, the breath, could sense its responsibility for bringing you into your seat for practice. So to arrive in the seat of the self, Svadhisthana, the second chakra. Allow the breath to drop down into your pelvic basin. It's kind of luring you back home. When you feel your breath is established there at the base of the pelvis, then start adding a little bit of the ujjayi breath. And I'm going to say a little bit because I want us to practice discernment and elegance in the breath. So add the slight sound of ujjayi, which you'll hear in the back lower part of your throat. And as the ujjayi breath starts to come and go, notice the pauses at the top of your inhale, the bottom of your exhale. And let's aim to balance the in-breath and the out-breath. You can also have your pauses be equal to each other. But for right now, you can have the pauses be brief. So your inhale might be like 8, 6, 10, and the pause can be 2, maybe 3. As you're observing the breath, start noticing the quality of your mind in observing the breath. You might also observe where the breath feels expansive and easeful, or toned and deliberate, and the places where it feels difficult, if any. And at the end of your next exhale, relax the breath and your focus on the breath and rest into that in you which was giving attention, the aspect of you that is awareness itself. Of course, the word aspect is a very poor word for trying to describe something that can't be described. That inner presence or immense awareness, the uninterrupted stream of ananda. And then please raise your hands to your heart. And sometimes we are able to rest back into that ananda, that realization or remembering. The word is called smriti, to remember. And sometimes we rest back into it when we have experiences of love or unconditional regard or appreciation or expansiveness of the heart. Other times we sense it through the clarity, the quietude of the mind, or an indwelling sense of like, there's a purpose coming through my life and I didn't plan it, but here I am. I'm supposed to surf it in some way. So whatever your tapping into experience is, try to rest in that awareness, the presence, as we chant, and we'll use the Gayatri mantra today. Let's begin. Om Bhava Svaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayata. Om Bhava Svaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayata. Om Bhava Svaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayata. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Hari Om. With your exhale, you may bow your head to your heart and release your hands, open your eyes. So the fourth imperative is the expression of compassion unconditionally, with this regard and inclusivity to everyone and everything. But it is the experience of compassion also with the desire to alleviate unnecessary suffering. One thing to be careful about is that sometimes people are going through a painful experience, but it's important for their development. It's kind of sculpting something, rinsing away what is non-helpful to them and bringing forth what can be really instructive or purposeful for them. And so the distinction there between unnecessary suffering or unhelpful pain, that's very important for us. That's why the third chakra cultivates discernment before we come into compassion to alleviate suffering. So when we sense somebody else's pain, if we sense it like it's a pain they must go through, we can of course have compassion for that without then enabling them to avoid it, right? So sometimes what happens in the heart, if it's unclear, is that we fall into enabling or enmeshment or codependence, and we don't want the other person to hurt or to feel pain. So we might rescue them from that or help them to avoid it. And that ultimately is not compassion, because we send them back through the cycles of what are called the samsaras, the samsaric cycle of going again and again through the same process, experiencing samskaras. So samsara is the endless cycle of pain. Samskara is a deeply grooved experience in the mind and the body and in our life. Usually also includes that deep groove neurologically, the reflex to keep repeating the same thing. So compassion is challenging for us if we haven't had the benefit of our own pain, the experience of our own life suffering that has brought forth realizations like, oh yes, it's larger than me. Life is bigger than I am. The plan for my life isn't up to me to choose, though here in the West we think it is. We think we're going to make like a business plan or a life plan, but there's a larger swell happening in the ocean of life. So in this regard, we have to cultivate the discernment at the third chakra to feel this compassion at the fourth chakra. One of the ways we cultivate discernment in yogic practices is pranayama, to have that really clear experience, the elegance of pranayama. So as you're sitting here, we're going to work through some opening of the chest and the heart, and then use pranayama to sense the beauty of that. But first, I'd like us to give us a preview. We'll do a practice, sense what it's like. Then we'll work through the musculoskeletal experience here. Then we'll come to the after view and see what your experience is. So we'll do Ujjayi pranayama. And I'm going to ask you for a full inhale that's expanding kind of like in a V shape, where the torso and the heart do get more expansive at the chest and the collarbones. And then exhale Ujjayi from the base upwards through the spine. In the middle of those two, I'm going to ask for inhale suspension. Okay, and inhale suspension, you use the chin, sometimes called the chin lock or Jalandhara Bandha. You'll bring the low belly in and up. The chest gets bigger using Uddiyana Bandha. Mula Bandha will also come. It will come along. You don't have to think it or make it extra tense. Okay, so come into your Ujjayi breath, please. Notice the length of your inhale, the length of your exhale. This Ujjayi can be subtle and focused. And when your breath is balanced between in-breath and out-breath, consistently, like you're able to do it for 3 cycles without interruption, that'll be the threshold. Then you can add the inhale suspension. If the breath is not balanced between inhale and exhale consistently, it would be considered premature to add the suspension. So be responsible with yourself. When you begin adding inhale suspension, do your best to make it consistent for at least 3 breath cycles. At the end of 3 consistent Ujjayi breaths with inhale suspension, and relax the pranayama, relax your mind, let it drop into your heart. And then noticing the quality of your mind and your heart, please open your eyes. And we'll do some work to release the myofascial tension, just in case you have any. So inhale, raise your right arm straight up overhead. And then bend your right elbow. Place your hand, if possible, on your right shoulder blade, not on your left. Reach over. And then as you hold your elbow, keep your right hand near to your right shoulder blade. If your head is quote unquote in the way because you don't have long upper arms, so your arms are running into your head, then bring the arms either slightly back and the head slightly forward, or turn your head a little bit to the side and let it come forward so it's not in the way. And then reach up with your right elbow, open your chest and your heart. And then for everyone, turn your head as far as it comfortably goes to your left and look down. Allow your head to come a little bit forward of your right arm. Bring your chin down towards your left collarbone. So you might be feeling the right shoulder, but also right upper chest. And then there's a place at the base of the neck, a muscle called levator scapula crosses there and touches the scapula and goes up, crossing the base of the neck, it goes up to your the base of the skull. So breathe in, welcome the sensations. Think of making a little bit of a back bend in the heart and a firm forward bend or flexion for the throat and the neck. Okay, and then release your arms, release your head. So that is a stretch for levator scapula and also pec minor and the shoulder girdle. Let the right arm hang down and take notice how things feel. Circulation, space, energy, prana. And then raise your left arm up overhead. You bend your left elbow. Hopefully it touches your left shoulder blade. I know for some of you, the arm might be stiff and it feels like your elbow goes out to the side and your hand ends up on your right shoulder blade. But do your best to come to the left shoulder blade. Raise your right arm. Okay, you can turn the head a little bit to give space for the arm if you're someone whose upper arms are not very long or whose head is large. Okay, and then as you're breathing in, reach the left elbow up. Now turn your head to your right as far as it goes and look down. So your chin is going to kind of snug in towards your right collarbone. Use the Ujjayi breath. You don't have to have any inhale suspension right now, but we want to use the Ujjayi breath so you're able to be like a submarine going in to investigate the sensations in your body. One thing I really like about Ujjayi breathing is that when I'm in the sound of the breath, the radio broadcast of judgment or distraction that fades away. Okay, and then you can release your arms, bring your head back to center, and again, observe what happens in the echo of that. So no Ujjayi right now, simply observing. Okay, now let's take both arms in front, cross your right elbow over your left elbow, weave the arms around each other like a rope. This was really difficult for me to do when I first began a yoga practice. And then I saw somebody teaching this pose to the Philadelphia Eagles, the football team. It was in a yoga magazine. Someone was like, oh, I'm really determined to do it. If those guys can do it, I can do it. And it did come in time, but it was challenging. So with your in-breath, raise the elbows up, make a little back bend in the heart, and also look up and open your throat. And then exhale, bring your elbows down, bring your head to neutral. Inhale, raise the elbows up, make that the first action, then back bend in the heart, open your throat, lift your gaze. And exhale, squeeze the elbows down, reach up through the crown of your skull so your head's neutral. Let's do that again, please. And exhale to squeeze. Bring your head to neutral. Now, keeping your spine and your head neutral, raise your elbows up to the height of your shoulders, cross the elbows to your left and look over your right shoulder. You can use the Ujjayi breath and smile at all the sensations moving through you. Now we're going to do one more thing for the shoulder here. I'd like you to bring your elbows to center, bring your head to center, and then using your left hand, tip your right hand to the right. So what happens is you're going to increase the amount of rotation in your right arm. So the right elbow is currently adducted, it's towards the midline, and tipping your hand out is causing external rotation. That's also rotating your shoulder blade. Tip your left ear away from your right shoulder. Bring your chin towards your collarbone slightly. Okay, and then bring your head to center, hands to center, release. Let's sweep the arms wide. Palms face up. And then exhale and lower down. And take notice. Let the mind get really quiet. Sometimes working through this region, the heart and the throat. When you're in the throat, you're also getting some benefit of vagal tone. But as well, the pressure system of circulation up towards your head, you might feel like, oh, your blood pressure is getting balanced too. You take the left arm in front and the right arm underneath. If you can't hold comfortably, it's okay to hold your tube sock or your leg warmer. I described that a couple days ago in a different video, or hold a yoga strap if you need to. Inhale, raise your elbows up, lift your chest, look up. Exhale, squeeze your elbows down, bring your head to neutral. Let's repeat this 3 times. So the inhale is like a little back bend, open your chest and your heart. The exhale, we want the spine and the head to come to neutral. Squeeze the elbows down. Repeat once more. And then when we're here, let's inhale, raise the elbows up to your shoulder height, cross your elbows to your right, turn your head to your left. As you breathe in, start the breath still in the base of the pelvis and make it wider as it comes up to the chest and the heart. So the breath is concentrically expansive. And then exhale, come back to center. And now as you're holding, let's keep the elbows at shoulder height and use your right hand to tip your left hand down to the left. That means that you've just increased external rotation of your left arm bone. Okay, now tip your right ear towards your right shoulder. You might feel the upper trapezius. Bring your chin a little bit towards your throat. Breathe in. And then we'll exhale and come back to center. Release your hands, wrists, elbows, sweep the arms wide. Okay, and then exhale and lower them down. And let's see if we can notice the mind possibly dropping into the heart. Don't make any effort to do the breathing. Invite your body to breathe you. Okay, one more. Let's reach back to clasp the hands, please, at the small of your back. As you roll your shoulders back here, please bend the elbows a little bit, because for some of you, it's likely that your elbows will hyperextend, or you'll feel like you're moving your hands and such to get the shoulders to move. So move the shoulders themselves, squeeze them straight back. Okay, and keeping that as you breathe in, raise your chin up and also stretch your throat. Move the lower jaw forward of your upper jaw. And then exhale, bring only your chin down. So the head, of course, is coming, but don't roll the shoulders forward. Move just the chin down. And then inhale, when the breath rises up to your heart, also include then opening your throat. Exhale, curl your chin down, almost like the chin's going to meet the exhale at the throat as it rises up and out. Once more, inhale to go up. Exhale to come down, squeeze the shoulders a little more firmly back. And then release the clasp of your hands, rest them again on your knees. Make no effort to breathe, it will all take care of itself. And now we're going to practice the Ujjayi. This is the post view. We had a preview, now we have a post view. So Ujjayi inhale, suspension, Ujjayi exhale, equal. So like if it's 10, 10, 10, it makes an equilateral triangle. The base, the exhale pause is relatively brief. Don't rush it, but you don't have to sustain it either. Okay, so let's begin. And aim to get 3 breath cycles consistently without distraction. We say in the Yoga Sutras to practice with a certain depth, a certain consistency, and a certain duration. So try to get 3 times altogether. And then you can deeply relax the mind. Let it drop into your heart. And sense in the heart this kind of courage to allow for the appropriate pain that is sculpting your life or someone else's. Like the courage to be in that important instructive pain, and your desire, a compassion to alleviate the unnecessary pain, to be able to help alleviate the non-helpful pain, the harmful sorts of pain. And please open your eyes as you're ready to. Thank you. So we're going to go to a standing practice now. I'll meet you back there in just a moment. In this particular week, we're also having a yoga therapy training, and one of our populations of interest is Parkinson's as well as MS. But what I'm going to, and then some other neurological conditions as well. What I'm going to teach right now is something that we have done for a neurobiological experience in yoga classes with our students in the Parkinson's yoga program when we had a physical yoga studio. Really helpful for their agility and cross-hemisphere training, balance, attention, concentration, all the things. We've also taught this at the prison in our teacher trainings there to help develop the intuition and the neurobiological movement together. So what can happen if we were in an in-person studio is that we actually feel each other's neurobiological rhythm, and the class starts to sync up like birds in a sky circle. We don't have that neurobiological palpable sense here because we're on computers right now. But I'd like you to sense this as a rhythmic balancing practice too. And if you were with somebody else, you would practice it until you came into rhythm like instruments in an orchestra. It would bring you into that harmonic place where you're like, oh, I just love playing the music in the orchestra. I'm a trumpet player in my past. My sister is a French horn player and still plays in the orchestra and the symphony today. She's a music teacher. So she often calls me after a concert like, oh, so amazing to be in that harmonic vibration thing. And I feel that with yoga. So were we together, you could have a sense of that too. This practice is also helpful for any of us recovering from a concussion or a brain injury, which is my case. You're going to be developing your cerebellum in this practice. And if it's been hampering you, as mine has been, it might feel like a little bit woozy or your balance might be challenged. So if you see me wobbling or having a balance challenge, know that there's no alcohol involved. It's just my cerebellum. It's how things are right now. So let me meet you back there on my mat. Okay, so for the standing part of what we're going to do right now, start with a wide stance like this. So that's a stable base. Your feet hopefully are about the length of one leg, your leg. And then reach back to clasp your hands as we were just doing. Now I'm going to ask you to put your weight into your heels and toes, but then start allowing your pelvis to drift forward until you sense that your hips are lining up with your toes from the side view, if someone had a side view. Drop the tailbone down, roll your shoulders back. As you squeeze the arms back, lift your collarbone, and then begin to raise your chin and your gaze. Start looking up. In looking up, you can find a place for your gaze or your dristi to be concentrated on the ceiling. And then exhale and trace a line with your eyes as you come forward and down until you're gazing back behind your feet, maybe towards a baseboard. Squeeze your shoulders back away from your collarbones and up away from your ears. With your next inhale, start to raise your chest and your heart forward. Trace a line on the floor, the wall, the ceiling. The hips come forward again, so you're in that starting position, like a little bit of a back bend. You might feel your hip flexors stretching a tiny bit. And then again, exhale and trace a line on the ceiling, the wall, the floor, past your feet towards whatever is behind you. And squeeze the shoulders back. And then inhale, trace a line on the floor, the wall, the ceiling coming up. And exhale, relax your arms, bring your head to neutral. Close your eyes and see if you can keep your balance. I know for many of you that's not a question, but for me it is. Okay, so that is a warm-up. Where we're going to be going now is turn your left heel to the left and then turn your right foot directly to the right as far as it comfortably goes. Okay, and then see if you've got the right length from your 2 feet. So one thing is, if you can turn the pelvis to line up in the direction that your toes are going, so the back foot is at a slight angle. For some of you, having the feet closer is going to make this easier to rotate the pelvis. But if the feet get too close, then you're going to also feel like it might not be as stable because we're going to bend forward. So you have to find the distance that's going to be good for you. And we will not be reaching for the floor. So you just take one arm up, and we're going to test drive this, that as you come down, we're going to reach forward, and then we're going to be coming back up. And we'll raise both arms at that point. We're going to rotate. We turn the right foot back, the left foot out. And again, we're going to be coming forward like this. And then we'll be coming back up. And we'll rotate again. Okay, now for those of you who have some ideas in yoga that it's always inhale when the arms go up or exhale when they come down, you're about to feel disappointed. Turn to your right, please. Okay, let's begin with the left arm. Inhale, rise up. And also look up. And then exhale, come forward, reach your left arm towards the horizon, gaze down towards the toes. Inhale, rise up, raise both arms. Exhale, rotate. Inhale, reach forward, lower your left arm, reach it back behind you, gaze down towards your left foot. Exhale, rise up. Inhale, rotate. Exhale, reach forward. The right arm comes down and back. Gaze down towards your right foot. Inhale to rise. Exhale, rotate. If possible, keep your gaze up as you rotate. Inhale, reach forward with your right arm, back with your left arm, gaze down. Exhale to rise, root into your right heel, raise both arms. Inhale, rotate. And continue. Use the Ujjayi breath to pace your movements, and don't add any kind of rushing or urgency. Be the last one that we're coming around to. And then exhale, release your arms down, and let's come down to the forward bend, simply known as Prasarita Padottanasana. Relax the weight of your head here and allow the breath to be smooth. You can stay with the Ujjayi breath. And then please raise your hands to your heart, rise up to standing, and let's go heel toe into mountain pose. And then pause to stand in your plumb line. Okay, now I'd like you to have a yoga strap. So if you don't have one, please get one. Ideally, your strap is going to match your decor. That was just, it happened that way. This is from the old studio, this colored strap. So take the strap and make a loop in it so that when your hands are in here, it's going to allow your arms to be shoulder width apart, like this. And then take this and place it so it's behind you. Okay, so like this. Okay, and then squeeze both wrists out against the strap, roll your shoulders back. And in that kind of squeeze, you're going to have the arms get to move back, and perhaps your arms are going to end up coming up, maybe for some of you at the height of your hips. So rather than dangling down, they might be raising behind you. But as you squeeze back, root your tailbone down, energize your legs, and then begin to lift your chest and your heart, start looking up. And then exhale, and as you come forward, trace a line on the floor. Once it's appropriate, look back between your heels. And then inhale, reach your gaze forward on the floor, go up the wall, up the ceiling, root the tailbone. Your hips can come just in line with your toes, reach your heart up. And then tracing a line again, take a couple breaths in each position. So the forward bend, you exhale to get here, and then you might enjoy an in breath, an out breath, and then rise on the next inhale. And then with the upper back and the back bend, you might stay for a full exhale, inhale, and then go forward on the next exhale. And then with your next inhale, when you raise up to standing, whenever that happens to be, then catch the strap in one hand and lower both arms. Again, close your eyes, and if you can, keep your balance with the eyes closed. That's coming from parts of your brain that, in my case, are still recovering. So notice where you balance from. Okay, now we're going to take this down to the floor. So when we're standing, we have the support of gravity for the forward bend. We have to reach up away from our postural slouching for the standing back bend. When we take ourselves down to the floor, you're going to have the addition of gravity pulling you down. So you have to use the shoulders in a stronger way to make it happen. So what I'm going to suggest is that we come first to a pose that warms up the upper back for this. And this is an important time to remind us that in the heart, or in that clear mind, we're trying to reconnect also back to that larger love. So this is a time not for criticism of your body or your capacity, but for appreciation. So take a seat like this. So gravity's going to oppose us a little bit, but less so than where we're going. We're going to turn the fingers to point towards the hips. Take your hands behind you. When you roll your shoulders back, you might start feeling your wrists. Of course, our wrists and fingers are doing so much more today than they did 20 years ago, 25 years ago, and all these little phones and devices. So press into your hands, roll the shoulders back, and for anybody whose shoulders are a little stiff, bend your elbows. And that's going to give you a way to really feel into the shoulder joint. If you straighten the elbows too soon or you hyperextend them, you can end up blocking the movement of the shoulder joint. So roll the elbows and the shoulders back. Lift your chest and heart up. Okay, and then inhale and straighten your arms to the best of your ability. And exhale, bring your chin down towards your throat, connect to your lower belly, and sweep the arms forward. Let them relax there. So your hands are going to maybe feel a little bit warmer or heavier. Okay, good. Now take the right hand and turn it to face behind you. Roll the right shoulder open so this pec minor is open here. Keep your hips and knees and feet centered for right now. Stretch the left arm forward. Press firmly into your right hand as you roll the shoulder back, and then root into your heels and rise up. This is called reverse table pose. It's one variation of reverse table pose, a one-armed reverse table pose. And then exhale, bring your left arm across your face. Keep the right arm stable, lower your hips down, and return both arms over your knees. Okay, take the left hand to point back. The right arm points forward. Press firmly down into both heels. Press into the strength of your left arm. Roll the shoulder externally. Reach the right arm back. You want to strengthen both hips. Reach long through your tailbone. So this isn't that your lower back is getting compromised, but rather opening the chest and the heart and strengthening your hips, your hamstrings, even your heels. And then bring your right arm across your face, lower your hips down. Bring both arms back out over the knees. Okay. Sit cross-legged. And listen for that inner sense of connecting to the love that is within you and comes through you. I'm going to be using the yoga strap in a moment, but you're not going to put it on before you lie down. So place it nearby, and then please come over to lie on your stomach. This is perhaps the hardest thing that we'll do. And first we'll do it without the strap, because you can have the freedom of not having the hands in the strap. Lie on your stomach. Come to your elbows. Okay. Bring the chest and heart forward. This part's not hard. Lengthen your tailbone back. Okay, to stretch the upper back, walk your elbows forward and put each hand so that you have your index fingers behind your earlobes. Lift up with your hands so the base of the skull is rising as you bring your chest and heart forward. You might not feel like this is much of an upper back opening, but if you watch what happens with the breath now, can you bring the breath up into the back of the heart, the top of the shoulder blades, the front and sides of the chest, and the collarbones? So the breath is going to stretch you from the inside. Now let's see if we can maintain the height that you're at right now with your shoulders and your torso. If you haven't yet, lengthen the tailbone, energize your legs, press the tops of your knees down, the tops of the feet. And without falling forward or hyperextending your knees or your lower back, take the arms forward and then out to the side. Turn your palms to face forward if you can, so the thumbs are going to point up. We're strengthening the back of the shoulders, the upper back, thoracic extension. The inner abdominals should also feel strong, so you're keeping the tailbone reaching towards the pubic bone. Root your thighs, your kneecaps, and the tops of your feet. And then exhale, place your hands underneath your shoulders, roll the shoulders back, and bring this up into cobra pose. Gaze forward with your heart and also your eyes. And use an exhale to come down kind of vertebrae by vertebrae. Make a little pillow of your hands and rest your head to one side. After that exertion, we want to just completely relax into ease. You were working in relationship to gravity there. And that means it has a little bit of a challenge, kind of like adding weights to a weight bar. Now we're going to use the strap. So this is something where you can have a little bit of a supercharge to the shoulders because you're going to have the strap to support you. But it can also feel like, oh my God, where are my hands? Am I going to fall on my face? So put the strap around your wrists and then bring your forehead down to the floor. Lengthen your tailbone towards your heels. So the thighs and the knees and the feet are grounded. As you roll the shoulders up away from the floor, just do that one action. Can you squeeze the shoulders up away from the floor? Then lift your arms, lift your heart, lift the base of your skull, come up into Salambhasana. And can you make the breath smooth here? So the inhale, the pose is going to rise a little bit. The exhale, it's going to descend a little bit. Ideally, the smooth inhale is going to make its way all the way up into your heart and your collarbones, but you're not straining to make that happen. And then release the strap, but maintain your height. Place your hands under your shoulders and curl this up to Cobra pose. In Cobra pose, we want the shoulders to set back kind of behind the heart. So your collarbone should feel wide. And the Cobra is lifting from the heart here, not from your chin. And then exhale and come down vertebrae by vertebrae. Stack your hands, turn your head to your other side. And then place your hands beneath your shoulders, press up to table pose, and then reach back to child's pose. And when you come to child's pose, if you need to, it's okay to put a blanket or a block underneath your forehead in child's pose. Sometimes it's more comfortable for the curve of the neck to have that kind of support. Let's put the arms out in front in this child's pose. And then walk your hands back towards your knees, press down to curl yourself up. Please take a blanket folded like this. And I'll show you how I got it to be here. So this is the end result. I opened my blanket from the storage fold and then on the length, fold it in half twice. You'll need one block. Great, and then you're going to sit in front of the blanket, not on it. So give space for your legs, as long as my legs are. Make this extra space here. When you lie back, the blanket will first support the top of the sacrum. So you're not sitting on the blanket, it is here at the top of the sacrum. And then smooth out the blanket. Take one block on the flat setting to put directly under the blanket and under your head. So what happens there is now your head is going to be in the position that we use in Jalandhar Bandha. Roll the shoulders down, so a little bit like bridge pose. Turn your palms face up so the chest and the heart are open here, but the throat is closed, temporarily closed. Pratyahara. You can close your eyes. And drop your mind and even your gaze down into your body, into your heart. And I'm going to ask you to watch the the tingling or the aliveness that comes from those poses. Watch it getting integrated. The sensations will slowly dissolve back to homeostasis. This is where you're not doing anything to make it happen, but observing your body, releasing, releasing, and releasing. You may notice that your body begins to get heavier, so more of the kapha dosha comes back. You feel maybe your elbows or your knuckles on the ground, the back of your hips, calves, heels. Allow your mind to rest. Simple observation of your body going through the process of activity towards stillness. Allow your mind to get still. Nothing else to do right now. Nowhere to go. Continue to stay with the process of observing. And notice where you observe from, like that larger love or presence. And turn your head to your left as far as it comfortably goes. Turn it to the right as far as it comfortably goes. The next time you turn your head left, see if it might just tip a little bit off the block and stretch the right side of your neck. And then roll your head to your right and do the same. Allow it to tip a little bit off the block and stretch the left side of your neck. Roll your head to center. Place the arms in cactus pose if you can. Roll your head to your left, and as the head tips to the left, notice a different muscle is getting stretched in the neck. Bring your chin towards your collarbone. Roll your head to center, and then to your right, let it tip a little bit off the block. Chin towards your collarbone. And then roll your head to center. Please bend both knees. Come to your side. Come up to sitting. We're going to do one more time. Inhale, suspension. So find your seat, please. Switch a little bit back. Okay, so find your seat, stable seat. Relax your mind. Try not to be too much the doer, but to see what pranayama can come through you. And our focus practice for pranayama today is simply inhale suspension. It doesn't mean that it's difficult, easy or difficult. Simply just means that we're just choosing one simple thing to do. So coming to your ujjayi when you're ready to. Inhale, suspension is equal. Exhale is equal. When you have 3 in a row that are consistent, then you can close your pranayama practice and rest in the echo of those efforts. And when you drop into that resting, lean back into that larger presence or love, that which has the capacity for awareness itself. Then raise your hands to your heart. Thank you very much for sharing your practice. Namaste. Thank you also to my teachers and my teachers' teachers. Nice to see you. Before you go from the practice, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If these practices are helpful to you, you'll get notifications that way when we have new content coming out. And also, if a practice is helpful to you, I do appreciate the like button getting clicked, and any questions, comments down below the video would be also wonderful. I do enjoy hearing from you. If you have questions about certain aspects of this practice, leave those in the comments down below, and I'll either answer them there or answer them there and teach a class based on your questions. So I can answer those questions directly in more than one way. Thanks again for being here. Namaste.